Hello, everybody. We'll be starting a new unit. We just finished up with the forensics and some of like the crime scene stuff. Now, kind of go into what happens after the crime scene. What happens after the analyzing of all the data and the analysis. And now it's coming to the criminal aspect of it. Criminal court, criminal booking. What do the police officers do? What does the accused do? As well as what are the rights? So criminal court process and the booking process. Kind of get into this. Let's see here. We go. Some of the goals. What I kind of want to get out of this next couple weeks is procedures of the police and court system throughout the criminal proceedings from beginning to end. What are the steps in the criminal court process and proceedings? Understand the rights of the accused, because again, the Constitution does protect the accused individual rights. Right to a lawyer, etc. We'll get into that, and we'll look at some Supreme Court cases as well that have laid precedent for our rights. All right, so kind of skipping a little bit of this stuff. We already covered some of the rights that we talked about. Miranda rights. All right. All right. So something I want to kind of think about with this scenario. Mr. Myers is walking down the street in an area of Chicago known as Lincoln Park. Lincoln Park is a high crime area. And citizens in the area often accuse the police officers of unlawful searches that lead to arrests. Mr. Myers is walking alone when he noticed a police car driving towards him. Mr. Myers starts to run. The police car turns on the siren and begins a chase. The police officers catch Mr. Myers and begin a search of Mr. Myers. The police find a handgun, but no drugs. Mr. Myers is arrested. Was this a lawful arrest? Go ahead and think about that. And think about why. Why would it or why would it not be a lawful arrest? Just to give you this scenario is real, not me, by the way. But it happened to somebody else in Chicago, where individual, this area, a lot of police stops, a lot of Terry stops. Remember that one video with the stop and frisk video that I showed you guys a couple weeks ago? This area of Chicago is very similar. So this individual is going to run from the police when they see him. May I add that the sirens were not on. The police weren't looking for anybody. They just saw this guy running when they saw him. So police will chase him down, stop him, find the handgun. So this will be protected. This will be something that will be backed by the cops. The cops are able to stop you and search you in this scenario because it's suspicious. Most people don't run when they see a cop car. So when you see a cop car and you start running, that gives the police reasonable suspicion that something's not right. So they were, according to the Supreme Court case, they will side with the police officers in the city of Chicago for this search, saying that it was lawful. All right, so there are several stages, flow chart, several stages in an arrest. Several stages to criminal process. The first stage is going to be an arrest. Something happened, you get arrested for it, cops will arrest you. So a couple vocabulary terms, obviously. What does arrest mean? This takes place when a person suspected of a crime is taken into custody. This is when you're not free to leave. So very important to understand that when if you ever were stopped by the police, whether you're walking down the street, you're at a party, you're out and about, you're in your car, whatever, you have the right to ask the police if you are detained. Being detained is different from being arrested. So if you're arrested, you're actually are being taken into custody. You're actually, being handcuffed. I guess even if you're detained, I guess you could be handcuffed too. They could be trying to calm you down or asking you questions. But ultimately you're not free to leave. So probable cause. Kind of what does that mean? It means it's reasonable belief a person has committed a crime. So again, at the initial stage, in some cases, it's pretty clear cut and dry. Maybe the cop witnessed the crime being done. But oftentimes, all right, that I had to talk to you about something. So again, kind of going into probable cause as well. This is something very, 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 very important that police officers have to prove is that they have to have reasonable belief a person has committed a crime. Is extremely important for them to prove and to be able to articulate what their reasonable belief is. So, for instance, somebody is I don't know, walking by a store and they're looking on the inside or looking at somebody's house. They walk away, they come back, they're looking again. That might give somebody some reasonable suspicion that maybe they're up to no good. Maybe they're looking at casing the place to try and rob it. Again, that could give them suspicion to search the individual. And then arrest warrant, obviously, this is a court order that's commanding that the person named in it must be taken into custody. The police officer has to fill out an affidavit providing his probable cause. Actually, that's something different, but I'll get that in a minute. All right, so Fourth Amendment. We'll be doing something in class on Wednesday about this, but I know last year in government you probably took this as well, or if you're in government now. But the Fourth Amendment is one of those amendments that really protect the accused of a crime, or prevents government overreach or government power. So this protects individual protections against government from illegal searches and seizures, from searching your property, from searching yourself. It ultimately gives us the individual right to privacy. There is something called an exclusionary rule, that evidence that is gained illegally can't be used in court. So oftentimes police officers are very, very careful of this. Again, I have several friends who are police officers. This is one of the things they're very careful on because they want a case. They obviously want their cases to be sealed and be done properly. So they have to be able to articulate what that probable cause is, and that they do have the right to gain evidence and to search. But anything that is gained illegally cannot be used in court. That's called the exclusionary rule. It's excluded from court. So again, that's often why police officers are very, very careful on this. So as I said before, police must present probable cause to a judge in a court to get a warrant. This is a check on police power. Again, going the ability to articulate your probable cause to a judge, to a court, for why you need a search warrant. Again, so police officers just can't just have carte blanche to go around and search whatever they want. They want a search warrant, things done properly. They have to go through those protocols of getting a judge's order. Specification, search warrants are very specific as to what they're searching for. So if you get a search warrant for, I don't know, let's say you're in an apartment and your warrant is for Joe Schmo's room, you can only search that room. It doesn't give you carte blanche to search a whole floor of an apartment building, or to search somebody's next door, or to search his next door neighbor. So again, or maybe you got a search warrant for a specific location. You can't look outside that location. So that's why it's very important for the officers who are looking for a search warrant to be very specific in terms of what they want to search. All right, search warrants aren't always needed in some cases. So there's several instances, as you guys can see by the slide. Obviously, as I told you guys before, we covered this several weeks back. If you give consent to be searched, then you gave your consent. The police will have the right to search you at that point. So that's why you don't have to give consent to a search. If an officer searches anyway, then at least you didn't give consent. Make it known and vocalize it in a respectful manner. But once you give consent, the protections are definitely against you at that point, where things will definitely stick in court. Next one is plain view doctrine. Evidence of criminal activities in plain sight of an officer. So let's say, for instance, you get pulled over and you got drug paraphernalia hanging from your pocket, or a needle of some sort. Or a beer bottle's in the back seat. It's in plain view. The officer's not looking, just in plain sight. That would be considered plain view doctrine, where the officer would have the right to search. You don't need a warrant for that. Emergency exceptions, so sobriety checks, DUI checks. That would be an example where you don't need a warrant to search on a DUI check. Border crossings, you don't need a search warrant for that. Airport searches, to have your luggage and stuff searched before you go on an airplane. You don't need a warrant for that. And school searches. The school's supposed to be a safe place. The administrators don't need a warrant to search your belongings, but again, they do oftentimes need probable cause to search. Obviously, probable cause on there as well. If the officer has probable cause to believe, they can articulate that probable cause. They don't need a warrant. So, for instance, you're driving on the road and your car swerves big time across the median. That gives them probable cause that maybe you're driving under the influence. They see you like ducking and moving things. They can think that you're hiding something. So again, that gives them probable cause to do a search. If you are arrested, officers can lawfully search you and your belongings if you're arrested, as well, as long as within the hand's reach. Hot pursuit. If your cops chasing after somebody and you run into an apartment building, the cops have the right to search for that person. And an automobile search as well. If the officer feels they are in danger, they can search whether it's in a car or not in a car. If the officer can articulate why they feel like they're in danger, they give them the right to search. They also might search the passenger if they have probable cause to search them as well. But automobile searches as well, something that they could obviously search without a warrant. All right, so why do we have the Fourth Amendment in criminal procedures? Again, for a few things. The one, they protect citizens. This amendment protects citizens before an arrest, during arrest, and after an arrest, as we'll learn more about with some of our cases. Two, it protects law enforcement officers as well from liability in case something were to go wrong. Oftentimes, as you will find out, more times than not, courts rule in favor of officers because there's a broad scope of things. Things happen oftentimes, snap judgments out of the slip of the finger. So oftentimes this amendment, with probable cause, it's very vague on purpose. As long as they can articulate they had a reason for what they did, oftentimes they'll side with officers for a search. It also protects law enforcement officers in obtaining admissible evidence. So obviously if they find something that gives them probable cause to search for something, gets them off the street. But again, there also provides specific methods and limitations as well for what they can and can't do. Different levels of proof. You have your reasonable suspicion. This is the amount of evidence that an officer needs to frisk someone. It's like the whole stop and frisk thing. They have reasonable suspicion of something. You can do a stop and frisk, frisk somebody down for weapons or whatever the case may be. Probable cause, the amount of evidence that an officer needs to arrest somebody. Preponderance of evidence, the amount of evidence to win an automobile collision case. The clear convincing evidence, the amount of evidence necessary for the state to take a child away from a parent. And then beyond a reasonable doubt, evidence beyond any doubt based upon any reason. All right, so you're going to be, well, I'll get to that in a minute. All right, so anyways, that's it for the lecture. So 13 minutes, that's it. We'll come back to school on Wednesday and we'll have a little activity for you guys.